It ain't over till it's over.
There's lots left to do, so let's push on. Here I've got a set of fuel filters, I think, and I wanted to run a wire through them so it would look like fuel line. So they were drilled, and here I am inserting the wire. I then ran the line through the firewall and glued it and bent it. The bend keeps it there while the glue dries. I then painted these filters Tamiya Chrome Silver, and there's another set that goes below these. I guess they're the fuel pumps, and I had a heck of a time putting them in. I dropped them twice on one side. Maybe the fifth time is the charm? There you go. The other side was much easier for some reason, so I'm moving on to the next step, and that is the fuel line that runs to the actual pump after I glue this in place. How many times do you think it takes me to do it? Nope, still not there. There, I finally did it. I also made more wire harness to add some of that factory clutter look to the engine bay. Next are the radiators, and I needed to paint the fins with Tamiya Chrome Silver. The install is pretty easy once that silver paint is dry. Yep, they just press into place there like that, and just a little bit of glue. Now it's time to install the airbox and the intake manifolds. I'm using canopy glue on these. The canopy glue takes a while to dry, so let's work on the wheels. The included wheels are very nice, but to get the authentic look, they need to be painted. Again, using Tamiya Chrome Silver. I know it's kind of weird to put chrome on top of chrome, but there is a difference, as you can see here in the footage. The wheels install with studs, and I had some trouble putting these in because the poly cap is not lined up within the hub, so it's hard to drive some of them in. Once they are driven in, they seem loose or floppy. At this point the car rolls, but I don't like how wobbly the wheels are, so I'm trying to push the studs down again, and they're already tight. It's just what it is. I'll have to put more thought into it. I painted the ponies on the center caps with a tiny brush and some of the body paint. I then used a toothpick to scrape off any paint bleed. It's chrome, so it's easy to remove the paint. And then the center caps just kind of drop into place, and I used a little bit of floor shine to seal them onto the wheel.
Say goodnight, Floppy.
I shot this footage at normal speed so you guys can see how floppy these studs are in the wheels. Yes, it's such a beautiful kit, but I was growing frustrated with this minor detail. Here I'm using canopy glue with a couple of drops of water added to it, so it has a capillary effect. So it bleeds down to the base of that stud, and then I take the wheel and I tap it on the surface of my desk so the stud hopefully sits center, and I don't touch them after that. I wait for them to dry. Did it work? Yeah, it did in the end. I had to create slots for the seat belts. First, I used an X-Acto to cut a line. I then used this line as a pilot for the drill bit and drilled 3 holes. I then used the X-Acto to cut out the holes and punch out the slot. Be careful using bits this small. I ended up breaking one of mine. The seatbelt ribbon and buckles are from MCV products. It's a nice kit, but I did run out of black ribbon for my seats. I was feeling a little timid about those seatbelts, so I decided to paint the interior parts with the secondary color. The door cards get flat black and the floor gets flat black, and then I'll have to do the gauges with red. Look at that steady hand. Okay, so now I'm using the body color thin down to add a wash to the gauges. If you thin it enough, it'll run away from the edges of the raised letters, and you'll get the appearance of backlit gauges. It works for my eyes. Now I had to do a lot of editing here because I had a rough time with these seat belts. I have never done them before, and they didn't really come with instructions. All I had to go off of was a picture from the website, so I used that as my guide and let luck help me out. It's too bad there's like 9 more buckles to go. I mean, wow. I'm trying to avoid directly working on the seats because I wasn't intending to put these seat belts in because they didn't come and I had already decided to paint the parts. So this is being done kind of backwards and I need to be careful here. So what I ended up doing was using one belt as like a template, and then I started making the other belts at the same length and size and folds and all that. And I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here, but it did work out. I ended up using some super glue on the edge of the ribbon so it was firm enough to insert into the slot, if you don't mind me saying.
That's what she said.
Michael, please. Please.
I also used the thin CA glue to help hold the seatbelt folds together. Now I'm doing the lower section of the belts, and that is a little more simple. It's all simple, relatively, right? I started to get wise here and put parchment paper down so the super glue wouldn't stick the seatbelt material to my cutting mat. Now I'm joining two belts with that middle buckle, so that creates one complete belt. Next is the center hub, or the release, if you will. And this was where it started to pay off. I started feeling really good once I got these centers installed. And I was feeling like, hey, I can accomplish this. I can do this. Here's where I ran out of black ribbon, but I had an idea. I thinned down some acrylic black paint and then just dunked the red ribbon into it and patted it dry. While the ribbon was drying, I used some canopy glue to fix the belt buckles to the seats. This gives them a weighted look, in my opinion. If they were just flopping there, they don't look like real seat belts to me. Here I am installing the lower belt that was painted black. I bet you can't tell a difference between the two sets. Looks pretty good to me. And then click, it goes in, and all I have is one more belt to do. To finish these difficult bastards off, I added a drop of clear red on the center of those hubs there, just to add some visual appeal. Next is the second coat of flat black on the interior pieces, just to give it a uniform look. Floor shine. I put that on everything. And I'm using it on the gauge dials to add a little bit of a gloss effect and some depth. Here is the rear view mirror. It is a microscopic piece and I'm attempting to use tacky to hold it onto a toothpick while I paint it. Doesn't really work that well, but hey, the thought was there, right? That's okay. I'll use my hands. Get paint all over my finger. Now I get to install the interior details like the brake pedals and the foot brace. It really starts to come together here. Here's my first use of the Tamiya metal transfers, and I gotta be honest, I really like them. Look at that. It's so shiny.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.